Rain hammers the limo. Lightning rips across Chicago. Dominic's voice cuts through the dark. Get out. Alexa freezes, hurt, stunned as photos spill across her lap. Lies. Accusations. A truth that isn't true. Dom, please. The door opens. The storm devours her. Silk-soaked, mascara running. Red taillights vanish into the night as her voice breaks. Dominic. Silence. And in that silence, she learns. Love isn't weak, but without trust, it drowns. Cut. Sunlight. A suitcase by the door. A ring left behind final. Years later, a gallery. Art. Success. A woman remade. Their eyes meet. Time stops. A child's voice. Mama, look what I drew. Dominic turns breath stolen. The world shifts. A son he never knew existed.
Welcome back to the channel. It's so good to have you here. If you're ready for a story that will keep you on the edge of your seat, please subscribe and give this video a like. And don't forget to leave a comment letting me know which corner of the globe you're listening from today. It's gratifying to see the impact our stories have and how far our stories reach. We have so many more incredible tales planned for you, so be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel, which offers a variety of themes for your enjoyment. For now, take a deep breath, settle in, and let's understand how this all started.
Chapter 1. Storms don't ask permission. The sky doesn't simply rain, it breaks. Lightning claws across the Chicago skyline, briefly sketching the city in stark strokes of white and shadow. A sleek black limousine idles at the curb outside the gala, predatory and patient, its tinted windows reflecting the storm as though even it refuses to look directly at what is coming. Rain slams the pavement. It sounds like applause from something ancient and merciless. Inside the back seat, Dominic Mancuso's voice cuts the dark like sharpened steel. Get out. Alexa Devereaux freezes. Her fingers tighten around the beaded clutch in her lap, the faint shimmer of it catching the strobing light outside. Moments earlier they'd been laughing on the dance floor, his hand warm at her waist, the heavy scent of cologne and champagne and promises lingering between them. Now he won't even meet her eyes. At 5'6", her presence has always been larger than her frame curves, softened by the silk of her evening gown, posture poised, expression usually luminous with intelligence and grace. Tonight, though, the wrong kind of vulnerability shows mascara smudging beneath lashes now wet with rain and disbelief. Dom, she says softly at first, then stronger. Dom, talk to me, please. What the hell is going on? He still doesn't look at her. His jaw flexes, his knuckles whiten. Somewhere beyond the windshield, two men in dark coats stand just outside the limo security, unreadable, immovable. Dominic is rarely without them. He is rarely without control. He reaches into his jacket and drops a stack of glossy photographs across her lap. They fan out like accusations. Alexa stares. The breath leaves her chest in one sharp rush. There she is, light brown skin glowing beneath museum lighting, standing beside a man she vaguely remembers. A hand on her shoulder, his mouth close to her ear, the angle twisted, the image manipulated. A lie made to look like truth. It feels like being slapped. Her head snaps up. His gaze, when it finally meets hers, is nothing like it had been an hour ago. It is judgment, hurt, something far more dangerous. Don't, Dominic says quietly, his Italian accent thickening around the word. Don't insult us both with another story. The storm presses against the car in sheets. The city dissolves beyond it, all silver streaks and shadows. Alexa's pulse hammers against her ribs. Dominic, she whispers, you can't be serious. After everything, after what it cost us to be together, you think I would betray you? A muscle jumps in his cheek. The door unlocks with a soft mechanical click. And before she can reach for him, before she can gather the words forming like desperate birds in her throat, the door swings wide. The storm takes her. Cold rain soaks the silk of her gown instantly, plastering it against her curves. Her hair, sleek a moment ago, clings to her face, dark spirals sticking to honey-brown cheeks as thunder cracks overhead. She turns back, one hand braced on the door, her mouth forming his name. Dom! But the limousine is already moving. Red taillights blur through the downpour, streaking away like accusation, like endings, like all the things he didn't give her a chance to say. Alexa stands in the torrent, shoes filling with water, heart shattering so quietly that only she hears it. And she realizes with a clarity that feels like grief. Love is not weak, but without trust, even the strongest love drowns. Chapter 2. Quiet Goodbyes Hurt the Most. By morning, the storm has spent itself. The sky hangs washed and pale, as if embarrassed by its own fury, but the silence it leaves behind feels heavier than thunder ever could. Alexa moves through the apartment barefoot. The polished floors are cool beneath her feet. The space holds the gentle echoes of a life that feels impossibly distant now. The faint, comforting ghost of espresso, honeysuckle from the balcony plants she insisted on tending herself, laughter preserved in invisible corners. She stops at the kitchen island and presses her palm flat against the marble. They used to lean here together, shoulder to shoulder, mornings soft and half awake. He would kiss her neck from behind, murmur promises in a voice that sounded like forever. Now it is just stone, unyielding, cold. She doesn't cry while packing. She cried in the rain. Her movements are deliberate, measured, almost graceful. Clothes folded with care, books selected, then set aside, then finally chosen with a quiet exhale. She opens drawers and closets and leaves nothing behind except the echoes of who she was with him. The suitcases wait neatly by the door. Alexa pauses in the doorway of the bedroom one last time. His cologne lingers faintly in the air, expensive, masculine, layered with memory. The bed is perfectly made. It looks like no one has ever held anyone here. She calls the doorman. Her voice is steady, polite, practiced. "Yes, Mr. Caldwell. 2 bags. I'll be down shortly." When she ends the call, her attention drifts to her left hand. The ring catches sunlight filtering through the window, diamonds winking, as though they know a secret she no longer believes in. Dominic had slid it onto her finger with a reverence that once made her breath catch. "Forever," he'd whispered. Forever, it turns out, doesn't survive suspicion. She slides the ring off slowly. It leaves a faint indentation, a pale circle where love thought it had taken root. For a long moment, she holds it in the hollow of her palm, feeling its weight, all the plans, all the imagined futures, all the ways she'd bent herself into believing they were unbreakable. Then she sets it on the marble counter. Not with anger, not with drama, with finality. A quiet verdict. Alexa inhales once, deeply, and feels something inside her settle. Not heal, not yet, but steady. Disappearing isn't cowardice. It is the only act of self-preservation she has left. The elevator ride to the lobby is silent. The doorman, kind and loyal, avoids staring at the suitcases, but his eyes soften with unasked questions. She smiles faintly, a dignified farewell that gives nothing away. By afternoon, she is on a plane. By nightfall, she is gone. And like so many love stories that ended without ceremony, without explanation, without justice, the city moves on. It forgets her name. But Alexa does not forget herself. Not this time.
Chapter 3. The Shape of Regret. Dominique arrives just after dawn. Chicago is washed clean, glistening in the pale morning light, but he feels none of it. His steps down the corridor are measured, decisive, his security shadowing him at a polite distance. They know better than to speak. He has rehearsed the apology all night. He will explain the photographs. He will admit his mistake. He will swear in whatever way matters most that he will never doubt her again. The anger burned out hours ago, leaving nothing but raw logic, fierce clarity, and a simmering dread he refuses to name. The penthouse door opens. Silence greets him. Not the comfortable kind, the kind that once wrapped around them like warm linen. This one feels cavernous, metallic, wrong. "Alexa?" His voice sounds too loud in the open space. It ricochets off polished stone and glass like a challenge that will not be answered. He steps farther inside. "Alexa?" The echo that returns is cruel in its simplicity. He turns, and the absence hits him in sharp, startling details. Her shoes are gone from the entry. The books on the console table rearranged, cleared, impossibly neat. The faint, soft chaos she brought into the pristine lines of his life has vanished. Everywhere his gaze lands, there is only order, only emptiness. Then he sees it. The engagement ring rests on the marble counter, catching a shard of light like a tear held in crystal. It sits precisely in the center, as if placed with careful deliberation, a farewell that refuses to beg. The breath leaves him. It is almost a physical blow. He reaches for the counter as though he needs the stone itself to steady him. For a long moment, Dominic says nothing at all. The elevator dings softly down the hall. Traffic murmurs far below. A city moves on with indifference, while his world quietly, efficiently collapses. He pulls his phone from his pocket and dials. "Find her," he tells his IT specialist, voice clipped, restrained, dangerous. Airport logs, cameras, ride histories, anything. Minutes stretch into a bitter lifetime as data scrolls, keys clack, and an entire empire bends for one missing woman. Then the verdict comes clinical, apologetic, immovable. She took a rideshare. She paid in cash from there. No ticket in her name. No digital footprint. No trace. She planned this, the specialist says softly. She didn't want to be found. Dominic closes his eyes. The tech hesitates, then adds, almost as an afterthought, though it lands with lethal precision. "And, sir, the photos, they were doctored, composite work, high level, the man in them, museum liaison, married, no record of contact beyond event protocol." He hears the words. He feels them. But his mind will not absorb them fully at first, like a body refusing poison. The betrayal was never hers. It was his. He ends the call. The phone feels heavy in his palm. The room tilts. He walks slowly to the edge of the sofa and lowers himself into it, as if he no longer trusts his legs. For the first time in years, Dominic Mancuso sits down without intent, without command, without pretense of control. His hands shake, and he stares at the ring, at the silent indictment it represents, until the truth settles with brutal clarity. Power means nothing when you destroy the only person who ever saw the man beneath the empire.
Chapter 4. A Life Repainted. Los Angeles greets her differently than Chicago ever did. The air is softer here, salted by the Pacific, laced with citrus that drifts in from distant groves. Mornings bloom in watercolor light over the city, hazy and forgiving, as though the horizon itself understands what it means to begin again. Alexa rents a small apartment near the museum. It is not grand, not impressive, but the windows open wide to the ocean breeze, and sunlight pours in across the hardwood floors, like a blessing she didn't ask for, but quietly accepts. She starts with small routines. Coffee in the morning, a walk beneath palm-lined streets, a notebook of restoration sketches laid open across the kitchen table. She learns where the light hits best, which cafe plays music soft enough that it doesn't rattle her thoughts, which corners of the city allow a woman grieving to simply exist without questions. The museums become her refuge. She spends hours in climate-controlled rooms, hunched gently over canvases that have suffered time and weather and careless hands. There is something sacred in the work, the way damage reveals itself under magnification, the way the first careful stroke must be steady and honest. Alexa restores art the only way she now knows how to restore herself. Slowly, deliberately, layer by fragile layer. Patience replaces panic. Precision replaces pain. The cracked surfaces she works on remind her that beauty is not erased by harm, it merely waits for someone who cares enough to tend to it. She never speaks his name. Not to colleagues, not to neighbors, not even to the ocean when it drags secrets out of other people and leaves them on the shore. But at night, when the wind brings the scent of rain, rare, but insistent memory rises anyway. Chicago storms, a limousine door, red taillights bleeding into darkness. Sometimes she feels the echo in her bones, and she curls into herself in the quiet, refusing to let tears rewrite the progress she's made. Silence, she decides, can be its own form of strength. Weeks pass. Then one evening, as she stands in front of the bathroom mirror, exhaustion pulling heavily at her limbs, she notices the change. A missed cycle. A tremor of intuition she tries briefly to ignore. The pregnancy test rests on the counter like a verdict in porcelain white. Alexa sits on the edge of the tub, Hands clasped, breath held, the ticking of the bathroom clock suddenly thunderous in the stillness. 2 lines appear. Clear. Unmistakable. She presses a hand to her stomach, stunned into stillness. For one suspended moment, grief and wonder collide and she feels impossibly small beneath the magnitude of it. Pregnant, alone, carrying both a memory and a future that has nothing to do with betrayal. The tears that come then are not the storm's tears. They are quieter, more fragile, more determined. She lifts her chin and inhales slowly, as though drawing strength from the ocean beyond the glass. This, she whispers to the empty room, to the life fluttering invisibly within her, we will do together, and we will be okay. It is not courage in the cinematic sense. It is something fiercer, quieter, the decision not to abandon herself again, no matter who else already has. Outside, the last light of day fades into gold. And inside, surrounded by canvases waiting for careful hands, Alexa begins the delicate, stubborn work of repainting her life not as it was, but as it must become. Chapter 5. The Ghost at the Exhibit. 6 years rewrite a life in quiet increments. Gold light spills across the gallery's polished floors, reflecting off marble columns and glass display cases. Music swells softly in the background strings, playing something romantic and aching, threaded with nostalgia no one in the room can quite name. Champagne flutes clink gently, silk gowns whisper, laughter floats, carefully measured, as donors murmur over masterpieces reclaimed from time. At the center of it all stands Alexa. Confidence fits her now like a tailored gown. Her light brown skin glows beneath the gallery lights, her curls pinned with elegant ease, her posture serene as if she belongs exactly where she is, exactly as she has become. She gestures toward a newly restored Renaissance portrait, the dust of centuries erased with reverence. Cracks aren't flaws, she says to the small circle gathered around her. Her voice is warm, assured. They're evidence of survival. They remind us art has lived, been touched, endured, and still has something left to say. Her words drift outward and settle into the hush, leaving the audience thoughtful, admiring. And then the air changes. She feels it, before she sees him, like the subtle shift before a storm breaks, like gravity remembering something it once held tightly and lost. Dominic. He stands at the far edge of the room, no longer the polished prince of Chicago soirees. The years have carved new lines along his olive-toned face, his jaw set harder, shoulders carrying a weight that never seems to lift. The suit he wears is immaculate, his world still demands presentation, but his eyes look older. Sadness rests in the curve of his mouth, controlled but not concealed. Alexa, he says softly when their gazes lock. The sound of her name and his accent feels like a ghost brushing her skin. Her spine straightens. Her heart leaps uninvited, unrepentant, then steels itself. She draws a slow breath, keeps her expression contained. What do you want? He steps closer, carefully, as if approaching a fragile artifact. Just to talk, he answers. There's no command in his tone now, only quiet plea. About us, about what happened, about why I reacted the way. She lifts a hand, graceful, decisive, stopping him with more dignity than anger. I wanted to talk to you that night, Dominic, she says, voice low but unwavering. I begged you to listen, and you chose not to. It's been 6 years. And at this point, I don't have anything left to say. For a heartbeat, the world narrows to the space between them, memory, regret, unhealed things pressing too close. Then a small voice cuts gently through it. Mama, look what I drew. The room expands again. A boy runs toward her, dark curls bouncing, holding up a sketch pad with both hands. Ships fill the page, bold strokes. Stormy seas, the same stubborn artistry Alexa has seen for years. He is sunshine wrapped in mischief. And when Dominic's gaze falls on him, time fractures. Hazel eyes, a familiar chin, a posture too similar to ignore. Dominic goes very still. The calculation takes less than a second. He is a man trained to assess, to interpret, to know. His breath leaves him in a short, stunned exhale. He looks back at Alexa. Not accusing, not angry, just shattered. Nothing to say? He murmurs, the words stripped of bravado. Alexa's expression softens not for him, but for what stands between them. Not here, she replies gently. She kneels, pressing a kiss to the boy's cheek. Go wait in Mama's office for a bit, okay? I'll be right there. The child nods, trusting, and trots off, humming, oblivious to the tectonic shift his presence has created. Dominic watches him disappear into the corridor, realization settling like a weight across his chest. Consequences. Not of power, not of rivals, but of one terrible night and a choice he can never take back. Alexa straightens. For the first time since their eyes met, he understands. He is no longer confronting the woman he once controlled or the love he once doubted. He is standing before the life he forfeited. And whether or not she ever lets him close again, he will have to face every minute of it.
Chapter 6. A Father is Born. They step into a side gallery quieter, less crowded, the hum of conversation fading behind closed doors. A single spotlight bathes an unfinished canvas waiting for restoration, edges frayed, colors muted by time. The symbolism isn't lost on either of them. Alexa folds her arms gently across her chest, as if containing the tremor she refuses to show. Dominic breaks the silence first. Is he? His voice catches, and he clears it, jaw tightening. Is the boy mine? Her gaze holds his. There's no triumph in it, no desire to wound, only truth. Yes, the word lands softly. It changes everything. He inhales sharply as if the world has shifted beneath his feet. Why didn't you tell me? She laughs once, not unkindly, but incredulous. Dominic, you threw me out in a storm and accused me of something I didn't do. You made it very clear whose side you stood on, and I was already gone by the time I realized. He moves a step closer, hands fisting at his sides. I reacted to what I saw, to what I was told. And that, she replies evenly, is the problem. You reacted. You didn't ask. You didn't trust me. Silence stretches not empty, but heavy. He tries again, voice rough. You could have called, written, something. Alexa shakes her head slowly. I spent weeks replaying that night. Every version ended the same. Me begging, you deciding. I refused to raise a child inside a world where my voice didn't matter. He winces. Anger wants to spark habit as old as power, but it dies quickly, strangled by the truth he cannot outrun. He drags a hand over his face. I have been searching for you for 6 years. Every contact, every city, you vanished. That was the point. Her tone is quiet, not cruel. He exhales slowly, and something inside him finally gives way. I was wrong, he says. Not theatrically, not defensively, simply, finally. I saw what I wanted to see. I let fear speak louder than you, and the cost was everything. Her expression flickers, just for a breath. But she steadies. This isn't about punishing you, she says softly. It's about Nico. He has stability. He has routine. He has peace. You don't get to walk in and out when it suits you. He looks at her sharply. I wouldn't. Yes, she counters gently, you would. Because power taught you everyone is optional, but children aren't. You are either in his life, truly present, or you stay away. She pauses, letting the words take root. Biology makes you a father, she continues. Consistency makes you a dad. Dominic absorbs this without argument. Something fragile, terrified, and hopeful flickers through him. He nods once. Then teach me, he says quietly. Tell me what he likes, what he hates, what he dreams about. I don't deserve to ask, but I am asking. And for the first time since he appeared, Alexa's composure softens not toward the man he was, but toward the man finally standing honest in front of her. She gestures toward the hallway. Come. They walk together toward her office. She opens the door. Nico sits cross-legged on the floor, tongue peeking out in concentration as he shades a stormy ocean onto paper. He looks up, curiosity shining, and smiles easily. Hey, mama. Her heart swells, as always, at the simple trust in those words. She kneels beside him. Sweetheart, this is Dominic, she says gently. He's someone important I'd like you to know. Dominic lowers himself slowly, deliberately a man accustomed to towering learning, what it means to kneel. He stops at eye level. Ciao, he says, voice warm, Uncertain. I'm very glad to meet you. Nico studies him for a beat, then beams. You talk like the guys in Mama's cooking shows. Alexa can't help it, a small laugh escapes. Dominic's throat tightens. I'm Italian. The boy nods as if filing that away under interesting facts about today. Then, without hesitation, Nico holds out his drawing. This one's my favorite. The ship always finds the way home, even in storms. Dominic swallows hard. Alexa watches the moment, the quiet adoration, the instinctive connection, and something inside her, fiercely protected for years, relents just slightly. Not forgiveness, not yet, but possibility. Dominic glances up at her. Gratitude unspoken, promise forming where excuses once lived. And in that small gallery, beneath the hum of distant strings and the weight of everything left unsaid, a father is born, awkward, humbled, terrified, and absolutely, irreversibly in love.
Chapter 7. Learning how to stay. Dominic doesn't vanish. For a man who has built empires out of silence and withdrawal, it should be the easiest thing in the world to retreat, regroup, reclaim control. Instead, he chooses something infinitely harder. He stays. Not loudly, not intrusively, but with a gentleness that feels learned rather than natural. A foreign language he practices carefully, afraid to mispronounce. He arrives when he says he will. He leaves when Alexa asks. He never pushes for more time than she grants. Nico watches him with open curiosity, as children do when confronted with mystery, danger, and kindness wrapped into one unfamiliar figure. Their life begins to make room for new rituals. On Saturdays, Dominic stands behind the grill in the small backyard, sleeves rolled, smoke curling into the afternoon. Nico hovers beside him with the solemnity of an apprentice, listening as Dominic explains why patience matters, how food, like trust, tastes better when you don't rush it. They burn the first batch. They burn the second. By the third try, they are laughing. On weekends, they drive out to a quiet lake. Dominic shows Nico how to cast without tangling the line, kneeling behind him, steadying young hands with larger ones. "Feel the water," he murmurs. "It tells you when it's ready." Nico nods, believing him completely. At night, they build a tent in the living room because the backyard feels too big, too exposed. It leans dangerously to one side, a lopsided kingdom, but Nico declares it perfect. Alexa watches them from the kitchen window sometimes, or from the doorway, hands curled loosely around a mug she forgets to drink from. Her heart aches in two directions at once. Tenderness pulls her forward. Fear holds her still. Dominic moves through their days the way love should move, not like a storm insisting on being felt, but like a tide that returns because it promised it would. Patient, steady, present. He asks questions, small ones. What does Nico eat when he's sad? Which bedtime story makes him laugh the loudest? Does math frustrate him or calm him? He files every answer away with reverence. Alexa notices the changes first. A discreet camera tucked into the shadow of the eaves. A reinforced deadbolt that didn't exist yesterday. A dark sedan lingering 2 houses down. Driver expressionless behind sunglasses. Her stomach tightens, not out of fear of danger, but of old habits returning. She finds Dominic on the patio, the afternoon light carving shadows across his face. Nico is inside, sprawled on the rug with colored pencils, humming to himself. "Dominic," she says quietly. A word. He turns, reads the tension instantly. His posture straightens. "You installed surveillance, hired people, altered the locks." "Yes," he replies simply. No apology, no hesitation. "Without asking me." His gaze holds hers steady, unyielding. "I didn't ask," he agrees, "because this isn't optional." A flicker of fire rises in her chest. "You don't get to make that decision." His voice remains calm, but there is iron beneath it. "I do when it comes to threats tied to me." A pause. "To us." He steps closer, careful, deliberate. "You think this is paranoia," he continues. "But Alexa, my name is not just a name. It is territory, history, enemies that never retire." His jaw tightens. "And now Nico is mine." That makes him a message someone could choose to send. The words drop like stones into still water. She hates that they make sense. She crosses her arms, protective instinct clashing with hard reality. I won't live in a fortress, she says. And I won't raise him inside one either. I'm not asking you to, Dominic replies softly. I'm asking you to let me do what I failed to do once already, protect what matters. He doesn't soften the truth. He doesn't attempt to charm her into agreement. He simply stands there exposed, earnest, terrified in a way he rarely allows anyone to see. Her anger loosens. Because beneath the steel, his overprotection is not control. It is love translated into the only language his world ever rewarded. She exhales slowly. Fine, she says at last. Some security. Not excessive, not suffocating, and not without discussion. You keep me informed. You respect boundaries. Nico doesn't grow up feeling hunted. He studies her for a long moment, then nods. Agreed. And Dominic. He lifts his brows. You don't get to go crazy with it, she adds. No guards inside my house. No bulletproof panic room. No turning our life into a chessboard. A ghost of a smile touches his mouth. Then we'll draw lines together. Something eases between them, a fragile understanding. A shared stewardship. Later that night, Alexis stands by the window, watching the street lamp glow across the quiet block. For the first time, the presence of subtle protection doesn't feel like a cage. It feels like a promise. Not perfect, not simple, but chosen together.
Chapter 8. The Heart Remembers. Evening settles like a blessing. The sky melts from gold to amber, to the soft bruised violet that comes just before night. Crickets hum in patient rhythm. Somewhere down the block, a neighbor's wind chimes whisper, delicate and uncertain. Alexa and Dominic sit side by side on the porch steps, a shared stillness stretching between them. Nico has gone to bed. The house glows warm behind them, the light from the kitchen window spilling across the yard like a gentle promise. Dominic's hand rests near hers on the step, close enough that she can feel the heat radiating off his skin, but not close enough to claim. A breeze drifts through. Her fingers shift. His knuckles graze her palm. They both go still. Neither pulls away. For a long moment, they simply breathe together, the quiet kind, where the body remembers what the heart is trying not to admit. He speaks first, voice low, careful. Do you ever think about us? The question lands softly, but it carries weight. History, regret, hope. She turns slightly, studying him. The edges that once made him intimidating, the power, the stillness, the sense that he was always calculating are still there, but layered now with something else. Humility, earned through loss, worn like a new and unfamiliar suit. I think about who we were, she says. He swallows. And about who we would have to become to try again. Her voice is not sharp, not bitter, just honest. He nods, as if accepting a verdict he expected but still feels. The breeze deepens. Somewhere in the distance, the ocean exhales against the horizon. The air between them thickens not with tension, but with memory. Desire simmers quietly, not as fire, but as heat lingering beneath coals. History aches not as accusation, but as proof they once mattered deeply. And for the first time since rain swallowed the road behind her 6 years ago, Alexa lets the idea exist. Not commitment, not forgiveness, just possibility. She draws a slow breath, grounding herself. Flowers die, Dominic, she says gently. Promises fade. People get tired of meaning well. A pause. Trust isn't an apology in a bouquet. It's rebuilt day by day, choice by choice. Or it isn't rebuilt at all. He doesn't flinch. He doesn't attempt to charm, or argue, or defend. He simply looks at her steady, open, and nods. I know, he says. And I'm not asking you to hurry. I'm asking you to let me prove that I learned the cost of not listening. There is no bravado in his tone, no performance. Just truth. The porch lights flicker softly. A moth flutters and disappears into the darkness. Her shoulders relax, almost against her will. Because something has shifted. Not between them. Within them. He is no longer the man demanding loyalty without trust. And she is no longer the woman willing to bleed quietly for love. They sit together until the stars emerge, saying very little, sharing everything. And as the night deepens, Dominic understands something he never truly grasped before. This time, if he intends to fight, it will not be for power, or pride, or territory. It will be for the quiet, relentless work of becoming a man worthy of the life he is slowly being invited back into.
Chapter 9. A Night That Doesn't Break. The house settles into quiet. Nico's soft breathing has faded into the hush of sleep, nightlights casting small constellations across his room. Alexa closes the door gently, lingering for a moment to listen the ritual reassurance that motherhood never quite releases. She moves down the hallway. The living room is dim, washed in lamplight. Outside, the ocean whispers in long, patient waves. Dominic sits on the sofa, jacket gone, shirt sleeves rolled, a book open but unread in his hands. He looks up when he hears her, and something softer than relief flickers across his face. "You stayed," she says lightly. "I said I would." She crosses to the window, resting her palm against the glass. "It still surprises me." He rises slowly, as though approaching fragile glasswork. He stops within arm's reach, giving her space. Always, now, he gives her space. "Can I ask you something?" he says. She nods. "What would it take for you to feel safe with me again?" The question lands deep. Not about forgiveness, not even about love. About safety. She turns, studying him, the scars time carved into him, the quiet effort he wears like a new suit that still doesn't quite fit. "I'm not sure," she admits. "But tonight doesn't seem dangerous." His breath leaves him. He lifts a hand, pauses, then gently tucks a curl behind her ear. The brush of his fingers sends warmth down her spine. She doesn't step back. "Alexa," he murmurs, like a prayer, like a promise. She closes the last inch between them. The first kiss isn't fireworks. It is slow, tentative, the careful meeting of two people who know how badly this can hurt if mishandled. His lips taste faintly of mint. He kisses her as if asking permission with every heartbeat. She deepens it only slightly, and his hands come to rest at her waist, anchoring, never trapping. Something long buried stirs. Not the reckless hunger of the past, but the heat of recognition, of finding a familiar door and discovering it has been patiently waiting. He breaks the kiss first, forehead resting against hers, breath uneven. "If this is too fast?" "No, it's not," she murmurs. "It feels right. Just don't put on an act, Dominic. Please don't let this become another empty promise." Dominic's growl is low and primal, a sound of pure relief as he catches Alexa's face in his hands. He doesn't just kiss her, he claims her, his mouth seeking hers with a crushing intensity that speaks of a hollow hunger only she can fill. It is a desperate reaffirmation of life. He hoists her up, and Alexa's legs lock around his waist with a bruising strength, her wavy hair spilling over his arms as he pins her back against the wall. The impact isn't violent, but it is solid, a physical reminder that they are both solid, breathing, and real. He moves her to the bedroom and lays her down on the mattress. His weight pins her deep into the bed, as if he's afraid she might vanish if he lets up the pressure. Alexa feels herself drowning in him, and she welcomes the weight. His mouth maps the slope of her shoulder, while his thumb brushes her nipple with a friction that sparks like a live wire. When his mouth replaces his fingers, her hands tangle in his hair, pulling him closer, anchoring him to her as the first waves of a heavy pulsing heat take root. The world outside the room ceases to exist. Alexa fumbles with his belt, her fingers trembling with an urgency that borders on frantic until she frees him. Dominic doesn't wait. He strips away the final barrier of her underwear, the sound of the lace giving way punctuating the heavy silence of the room. He finds her ready, her body reaching for him, and he pushes into her with a slow, agonizing heaviness. He doesn't close his eyes. He stares directly into hers, forcing her to witness him as he fills her completely. It is a slow, rhythmic anchoring, a physical manifestation of a promise. He pauses for a single, strained second, his muscles corded and shaking with the effort of holding back, making the moment last until it hurts. When he moves, the pace is deep and relentless. Each thrust is a physical demand for her presence. Alexa's nails dig into his back, her legs tightening around his hips to draw him even deeper, needing to feel the sheer force of him. The tension coils until it's a physical ache, a terminal pressure that finally snaps. She comes apart beneath him, her back arching off the bed in a silent, breathless cry of surrender. That surrender is what finally breaks Dominic's control. His rhythm fractures, his hips stuttering with a raw, uneven desperation as he follows her over the edge. He buries his face in her hair, his body tensing into a hard cord of muscle as he claims her in the most fundamental way possible. They remain locked together, chests heaving in the quiet, the frantic urgency finally giving way to a heavy, unshakable peace.
Dawn arrives quietly, slipping into the room in pale ribbons. Dominic wakes before the sun fully crests the horizon instinct, honed from years of never quite trusting sleep. For a moment he lies still, disoriented, listening to the ocean's slow breathing and the faint hum of the house around him. Then he feels it, warmth beneath his palm. His hand rests across Alexa's stomach, the curve of her body tucked gently against his. Not possessive, not claiming, simply there, as if his sleeping mind had needed proof that last night wasn't memory masquerading as mercy. He exhales a sound that is almost a prayer. She stirs, lashes fluttering, then opens her eyes. They meet his, not startled, not regretful, simply aware. "Good morning," he murmurs, his voice roughened by sleep. Her gaze dips briefly to where his hand still lies, spread protectively across her, before returning to his face. "Good morning." He doesn't move right away. It isn't reluctance, it's reverence. A quiet fear that shifting even an inch will scatter whatever fragile grace the night gave them. Finally, he lifts his hand carefully, as though setting down something precious, and rests it instead over his heart. "I keep thinking I dreamed it," he admits softly, "that I imagined being here, with you." Her expression softens not with surrender, but with understanding. "It wasn't a dream," she says. "But it isn't a promise either. It's a moment, a good one, a needed one." He nods, accepting the boundary without resistance. "I can live with that," he replies. "Moments can build things, if you treat them carefully." They fall into quiet again, not heavy, not awkward. Just two people learning how to exist in a space that is neither past nor future, but a delicate present. From down the hall, the coffee maker clicks to life. Daylight widens. Alexa sits up slowly, wrapping the sheet around her shoulders. Dominic swings his legs over the side of the bed, giving her privacy, giving her choice. When he glances back, it is not to claim the night as victory. It is to memorize the gentleness in it, and to remember that staying, truly staying, means honoring mornings like this just as much as the nights that preceded them. Breakfast quiet. The smell of coffee drifts through the house before the morning fully wakes. Dominic stands at the kitchen counter, sleeves pushed up, moving with a careful deliberateness, as though every clink of ceramic risks breaking the fragile peace that settled overnight. The hum of the coffee maker mixes with the soft whisper of ocean breeze through the cracked window. He pours 2 cups, black for himself, lightened with cream for her, the way she's always taken it. He hesitates before setting it down. Memory is dangerous, but remembering her feels like honesty, not manipulation. Footsteps sound from the hallway. Alexa appears wrapped in a soft robe, hair loosely gathered, face unguarded in a way morning often insists upon. She pauses at the doorway just enough to take him in, this image of him in her kitchen, barefoot, making coffee like an ordinary man. It disarms her more than anything else could. "Good morning again," she says. He offers the cup. "For you." Their fingers brush. Not intentionally. Not dramatically. Simply, naturally. She smiles, small, sincere. "Thank you." Before anything more can be said, small, hurried steps break into the moment. Nico barrels into the kitchen, hair wild, eyes still fogged with sleep, pajamas rumpled. He stops abruptly when he sees them both there together, as if the morning has offered him a surprise he doesn't quite know how to unwrap. "Hi," he says cautiously. "Morning, buddy," Alexa replies, smoothing his curls. Dominic crouches slightly, making the world smaller, more reachable. "Buongiorno," he says gently. "Did you sleep well?" Nico nods, then brightens. "I dreamed we were pirates. But the good kind. Dominic's mouth curves. Naturally. Alexa moves to the stove, cracking eggs into a skillet. Dominic reaches instinctively for plates, then pauses. May I? She nods. Permission. He takes bowls down instead, setting them on the table. Nico climbs into a chair and swings his legs, happily narrating his dream islands and treasure maps and a ship that never, ever sank. Dominic listens, truly listens, asking questions, encouraging details. And who was your captain? Nico grins. Mama, obviously. Alexa laughs, shaking her head as she places toast on a plate. Dominic meets her eyes across the kitchen, and the look says everything. This ordinary, beautiful chaos is what he never realized was worth protecting most. Breakfast settles into rhythm. Scrambled eggs. Toast buttered unevenly. Orange juice that leaves sticky smiles. Nico pauses mid-bite, studying Dominic with the frank seriousness only children possess. Are you staying for breakfast? Silence stretches not uncomfortable, but careful. Dominic glances at Alexa, offering the decision wordlessly. She considers not the night behind them, but the day ahead. The example being set, the boundary wrapped in kindness. Yes, she says softly. He's staying. Nico beams. Dominic's gratitude is quiet, a subtle breath, a nod, the way his shoulders ease just a fraction. They eat. Simple conversation, soft laughter, a few moments where the future doesn't feel like a test. When breakfast ends, Nico darts off to find his shoes, already planning adventures, talking about school, questions, life. Dominic rises, gathering plates without being asked. You don't have to, Alexa says. I know, he answers, but I want to. She watches him rinse the dishes, a man who has commanded fleets and territories, now treating her kitchen like sacred ground. And something inside her shifts again, not toward blind trust, not toward erasing the past, but toward acknowledging truth. Sometimes healing lives in mornings like this more than in apologies. Nico's laughter echoes down the hall. Sunlight brightens, and for the briefest stretch of time, the world feels possible.
Chapter 10. The Wolf in the Distance. Victoria, the woman who was the cause of their breakup with her fake evidence against Alexa, returns like a whisper of poison. Not loudly, not dramatically. She drifts back into the city, the way winter creeps into a late autumn evening, subtle, inevitable, patient. Hotels under assumed names, drivers rented in cash, phones discarded as soon as they taste too much truth. She watches, from restaurant patios, from across gallery openings, from sidewalks where she becomes just another face in the stream of human indifference. She listens, too, to rumors, to whispers of Dominic Mancuso operating differently now, less ruthless, more careful, more vulnerable. The word fascinates her. In the world she once served, vulnerability is an invitation, a door cracked open, a plea waiting to be exploited. She learns the rhythm of their days. Alexa at the museum, sunlight tracing her profile across priceless canvases. Dominic arriving and leaving always with men at his back, with cars staged like chess pieces across the block. The little boy bright-eyed, curious, orbiting the quiet gravity of both parents, like a star destined to burn too brightly. His name reaches her first through a careless whisper, Nico, and close. The syllables slide through her mind and settle like a shard of glass in silk. Dominic built his empire by trading in threats, alliances, power plays hidden beneath negotiation. He was once untouchable because he held nothing sacred, but now he has something living, breathing, laughing, something he cannot replace. Victoria sits in a car one afternoon, engine off, watching from a discreet distance as Nico runs from the school gates and launches himself into Alexa's arms. Mother and son stand in the afternoon sun, wrapped in a moment so ordinary it nearly wounds to witness. Alexa kisses his hair. Dominic's security lingers. Alert, professional, efficient. Victoria smiles. Alexa is no longer simply a woman who defeated her, someone Dominic chose despite Victoria's machinations. No, Alexa is leverage. The boy is leverage. And wolves, real wolves, don't howl for attention. They stalk quietly. They wait until the prey stops looking over its shoulder. Victoria settles deeper into her seat, eyes glittering. She has found the fault line, and she intends to press.
Chapter 11. Stolen Light. Pickup day at school begins as gently as every other. Children's laughter spills across the courtyard like scattered marbles. Parents linger in small clusters, talking about homework and piano recitals. The sun sits warm and serene in the sky, unconcerned with human fragility. Alexa stands near the front entrance, smiling as she spots Nico through the classroom doors. Backpack slightly crooked, one shoe untied, waving eagerly. The moment feels like sunlight captured inside a memory. Then it fractures. It happens fast. Too fast. One of Dominic's security men shifts position, hand going to his earpiece. Another scans the perimeter, posture tightening. A car rolls up to the curb, ordinary, unremarkable until it isn't. Doors fly open. A scream cuts through the air. Another parent drops a coffee cup that shatters like punctuation. Alexa's heart tries to climb into her throat as the world tilts sideways. Nico! Security reacts trained, precise, but the strike is coordinated. The first guard collapses, shocked by a stun stick. The second is blocked by a decoy accident, a fender bump from a conveniently placed vehicle, chaos layered on chaos. Hands grab Nico. He yells confused, scared, but brave, reaching back for a mother he cannot reach. The van door slams. Tires screech. It disappears into traffic like a nightmare swallowed whole. For one suspended heartbeat, Alexa cannot feel her body. Sound becomes muted. Colors blur. The ground feels uncertain, as if it may swallow her entirely. Then the shock burns away, and fury takes its place. Not wild, not uncontrolled. Cold. Precise. Anchoring. Security regroups. Phones ring. Sirens somewhere begin to wail. Dominic arrives within minutes. He reads the scene the way soldiers read battlefields, cataloging casualties, exits, patterns. But when his gaze meets Alexa's, all calculation cracks. He steps toward her. "We'll find him," he says, voice hollow with the effort of control. She grabs his jacket, dragging him closer, every word shaking with a grief too sharp to be fully felt yet. "You will not shut me out," she breathes. "Not this time. Not when it's our son." The warning is not a threat. It is a vow. He stares at her, sees the woman who once vanished because he didn't listen, and something in him bows. Not from weakness. From understanding. "I won't," he says. And he means it. He gestures to his team. "Everything comes to me and to her. Every lead. Every whisper. No one moves without us." The men nod. The partnership they should have had long ago does not require ceremony. It is forged in the fire of a missing child. Alexa straightens, grief still clawing at the edges of her composure but purpose rising beneath it. "Where do we start?" Dominic's voice hardens. "With the people who would dare." The search begins, not as lovers scrambling toward hope, but as two parents stepping into war together. Not against each other. Not anymore. But against the darkness that thought it could touch their child. And leave unscathed.
Chapter 12. The Trail of Ash. The city becomes a map. Not a place of skylines and neighborhoods, but arteries, routes, choke points, exits. Dominic stands at the center of it with a stillness that terrifies men who've seen what it means. Phones ring. Screens light. Names appear like old ghosts. Alexa stands beside him. Not behind. Not away. Beside. Her hands tremble only once. Then she folds them together and stills them by force, the way she steadied herself over countless canvases, precision over panic, purpose over fear. Dominic's lead security chief, Marco, spreads a tablet across the hood of a car, traffic cams blinking like distant eyes. "School cameras are already wiped," Marco mutters. "Montage loop inserted. Whoever planned this had inside help." "Then we stop looking forward," Dominic replies softly. "We start looking backward." He glances at Alexa, and she understands instantly. Pattern, not chaos. She leans over the screen. Not the school, the streets around it, 2 blocks out. 3. The way you build negative space in art restoration, what's missing is intentional. Marco zooms out. There. A white van, unremarkable, except it appears on 3 different feeds, always outside normal traffic rhythm by a half second, not rushing, not panicking, confident. Dominic's jaw tightens. Bring me every scrap tied to that plate. Marco shakes his head. Swapped. False registration. Dominic doesn't raise his voice. Then run the body. Same dents, same aftermarket grill. Cross-reference every camera from the last 48 hours. Teams move. Calls go out. A map blooms on the tablet dots tracking sightings. The van weaves the city like a careful thread. Never doubling back. Never improvising. Alexa exhales slowly. They're funneling. Toward where? Dominic asks. Marco highlights industrial lanes. Old freight routes. Buildings nobody bothers with anymore unless they want to be forgotten. Dominic's phone vibrates. Luca Romano. He answers, turning away just enough for privacy, but not secrecy. They're using old roads, Luca says, voice grave. Someone scrubbed the usual channels ahead of time. That means money, approval. This isn't random. Dominic closes his eyes briefly. The council. His rage is not loud, it crystallizes. And the woman? He asks. Victoria, Luca confirms, but she's not alone. She's working off someone else's list. Dominique hangs up. He meets Alexa's gaze with unvarnished truth. This isn't just revenge. This is strategy. Her reply is steady. Then we outthink them. Marco's voice cuts in. Got it. Van exits the main highway. Here. He expands the feed. A rusted skyline appears, warehouses, smokestacks long dead, the ghost bones of industry. The van disappears behind an old ironworks complex. Alexa goes still. The foundry. Dominic nods once decision already formed. Teams flank the perimeter. No sirens, no heroics. We don't spook them. He turns to Alexa, expecting pushback, and finds none. Tell me what you need, she says. He blinks then, something like pride threads through his fear. Eyes, perspective. If they staged this, they staged exits. You see details, I don't. She nods. Partnership, not promise. Not forgiveness. Trust built in real time. They move. Chapter 13. The Hunt. The convoy slips through the outskirts of the city under the cover of dusk. 3 cars in formation, quiet engines, radios murmuring coded confirmations. The foundry rises ahead like a grave marker, brick charred black, windows boarded, weeds sprouting between cracked asphalt. The world forgot this place. Predators did not. Dominic scans the structure. North side has the oldest gate, Alexa notes, pointing. If you wanted a fast exit, you'd reinforce there from the inside. It doesn't look touched, which means it has been. Marco whistles softly. She's good. Dominic almost smiles. The best. He gestures his men into position, then turns back to Alexa. You stay behind cover. She shakes her head. I stay in communication. I don't move unless you tell me. We'll compromise, he says. But you don't vanish from my sight. The understanding threads between them, not dominance, not concession. Alignment. A radio crackles. Movement inside. Dominic's heartbeat slows. He enters predator calm. On my mark, he murmurs. They breach outer doors like ghosts, not with violence, but with inevitability. Darkness swallows them. Dust swirls. The scent of rust and old oil lingers like memory. Somewhere deeper in the building, metal clangs. Footsteps. A laugh too sharp, too amused. Victoria. Dun. By do.
Chapter 14. The Trap. They follow sound through corridors lined with forgotten machinery. Alexa's breath stays even through sheer will. Then she sees it. A corridor that doesn't match. Paint scuffed more recently. A path cleared through grime. There, she whispers. Dominic nods, acknowledging her instinct and signals. 2 men peel off to flank the far side. He and Alexa advance. They reach a wide chamber. Forged documents sit neatly on a rusted table, contracts, transfers, names meant to burn empires without firing a shot. Dominic doesn't move toward them. He scans shadows.
Victoria steps forward, lips curved in triumph, eyes bright with obsession. Welcome, Dominic, she purrs. I brought you exactly what you always wanted, control, for a price. Alexa's gaze sweeps the room. Exit points, structural weaknesses, and there, a walkway above, too recently disturbed. She tugs Dominic's sleeve, once barely perceptible. Up, she whispers. He registers it. Signals. Snipers shift position. And the game changes from ambush to checkmate in progress. Chapter 15. The Foundry Standoff. The Foundry breathes like an old animal. Wind sighs through shattered panes. Chains clink lazily in the rafters. Dust hangs in the air suspended, waiting, as if even the building knows history is about to take sides. Dominic and Alexa step into the main chamber. Light spills through broken windows in fractured beams, cutting across rusted machinery and the scattered remnants of a past that never bothered to clean up after itself. At the far end of the room, a metal catwalk. Beneath it, a table. Papers rest there, neatly arranged. Contracts, bank records, offshore ledgers. The kind of documents capable of dismantling men like Dominic without firing a single bullet. He barely glances at them. He is listening. For Nico, a soft sound reaches him, too faint, too contained. A muffled cry. He knows that sound. His entire body tightens. Victoria steps out from behind a column, her heels clicking slowly against the concrete, her smile bright and poisonous. Dominic, she says, like a toast at a funeral. And the ever-resilient Alexa. You do have impeccable timing. Alexa's gaze sweeps the room and then upward. The catwalk rail bears smudges where hands have recently gripped. A length of rope lies coiled nearby. She shifts slightly, murmuring without moving her lips. Above, Dominic catches it, signals. Two men peel silently into the shadows, circling to higher ground. Victoria notices amused. Still the strategist, she says lightly. But tonight, you don't own the board. She gestures lazily. From the darkness, a man steps forward. Nico appears beside him, bound, frightened, but unharmed. His eyes widen when he sees Alexa. Mama, Mama. Alexa's breath fractures, but she does not move. She meets her son's gaze, and her voice, when it comes, is steady. It's okay, baby. I'm here. I'm right here. Victoria watches the exchange with a scholar's fascination. That, she murmurs, is what power actually looks like. Not guns, not money, attachment. That's why the Council has always preferred men with nothing to lose. Dominic's voice is low, lethal. You touch him and the Council won't save you. She laughs softly. Oh, Dominic, they already have. Senator Rollins himself signed off on this recalibration. Alexa's heart stutters. Rollins? She whispers. Victoria nods. He thinks you've forgotten your place. Legitimate business. Investors. Charitable foundations. It's adorable, this fantasy where a man like you gets to walk in daylight without paying tribute. Ah, 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 ah. She leans closer, voice sharp as glass. Consider tonight a reminder. Marco's voice whispers through Dominic's earpiece. Snipers in position, 2 on the mezzanine, 1 by the south exit. We can take the shot. Dominic doesn't blink. No, he murmurs. Not yet. Because Nico is too close. Because Victoria wants chaos. Wants panic. And he refuses to give it to her. He lifts his hands slightly. Not surrender. Control. 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 What do you want? She tilts her head. A trade. The documents prove Rollins' involvement. They prove the Council's laundering network. They're worth kingdoms. You walk away without them. You disappear, or the boy disappears instead. Alexa steps forward. Dominic's hand snaps out, stopping her. But she looks him dead in the eye. Trust me.
For the first time in his life, Dominic lets go of the instinct to command. He nods. Alexa turns to Victoria. You know what happens when you threaten a child? She says quietly. You create parents who have nothing left to fear. Victoria's smile wavers briefly. Just enough. Alexa shifts barely noticeable. The signal. Chaos ignites silently. A shot cracks from above, precise, not fatal, dropping the guard nearest Nico with surgical accuracy. Dominic surges forward as another man lunges. Metal screams, boots scrape, echoes multiply. Gunfire bursts, not wild, coordinated. Nico bolts. Dominic scoops him mid-run, spinning behind cover, shielding him with his own body. I've got you, he breathes, voice breaking. I've got you, figlio mio. Nico sobs once, then clings. The incriminating papers flutter from the table, scattering like startled birds. Victoria curses and fires. The bullet misses Dominic by inches, biting into the post behind him. He pivots, pushing Nico toward Marco. Get him out, Dominic orders. Marco hesitates, sees the look, and nods. Nico is carried from the room, terrified, but safe. Victoria's face tightens fury, disbelief, something close to grief twisted into rage. You chose the boy over your future, she spits. Dominic stands, exposed. Yes. And in that single word lives a confession, a vow, a severed tie to the shadowed throne that once defined him. Alexa spots movement behind Dominic, an attacker rising. She doesn't shout. She acts. Her hand finds a rusted pipe. She swings once clean, controlled, dropping him. Her breath trembles, but her resolve does not. Dominic turns stunned, grateful.
But Victoria has already realigned, rage narrowing into purpose. Her arm lifts. The shot cracks. Alexa jerks surprise, not sound, stealing the moment. The world stutters. Dominique catches her before her knees touch concrete. Blood stains his sleeve. Not violent, not theatrical, but real, immediate. Alexa. His voice fractures. Her fingers curl into his shirt. I'm okay. She whispers a lie spoken for him, not herself. Victoria watches, victory gleaming, but only for a heartbeat. Because Dominic stands. And the look he gives her is not rage. It is conclusion. You don't walk away from this, he says softly. She fires again. He is faster. The shot that drops her is clean. Final. Not vengeance. Ending. Sirens wail distantly, now inevitable. Closing. Dominic lowers himself beside Alexa, hands pressing to the wound, voice slipping into Italian prayers he hasn't spoken since childhood. Stay with me, tesoro. I'm right here. Her eyes flutter pain, exhaustion, stubborn life still burning. Don't. Let them pull you back. She breathes faintly. Don't go dark again to save me. He bends his forehead to hers. I won't, he vows. I choose you. I choose Nico. I choose daylight. Medics rush in. Marco returns, nodding once. Kid's safe. Scared, but safe. Dominic exhales. Something breaking open in his chest, relief and terror and devotion tangled into one unbearable cord. Dominic places Alexa onto a stretcher. Her hand slips into his. She squeezes, almost imperceptibly. And in that fragile pressure, he hears everything she does not have strength to say. Live the promise. Don't let fear reclaim you. Don't lose yourself again. He walks beside her as they rush her out, never letting go. Behind them, the foundry settles into silence, the echo of old machinery fading as if the past itself finally understands. The empire it thought it owned belonged to something stronger now. Not shadows, not power, family. Chapter 16. What remains? Hospitals sound like waiting. Soft shoes on polished floors. Monitors pulsing in measured reassurance. The distant murmur of lives rewritten behind thin walls. Dominic sits rigidly in the plastic chair beside Alexa's bed. Hands clasped, elbows resting on his knees, a position halfway between prayer and self-punishment. Hours blur. Doctors move in and out. Nurses speak in calm, practiced tones. The world narrows to numbers on a screen, the rise and fall of her chest, the faint scent of antiseptic and clean linen. The bullet missed anything vital. The surgeon's voice had been careful. She was lucky. She was strong. But luck is fragile. Dominic has learned not to trust it. He has not left her side. Marco drops off food that goes untouched. Luca checks in, speaking quietly in the hallway. Men who once answered to him like soldiers now tread lightly as if grief is holy ground. Nico sits curled in the wide chair across the room, knees drawn to his chest, a blanket draped around his shoulders like a cape he does not feel brave enough to wear. Every so often, he looks up. Is she still sleeping? Dominic softens each time. Yes, Piccolo, healing takes rest. Nico nods as if memorizing the rule. He gets up occasionally to touch Alexa's hand very lightly, as if afraid she might disappear if he presses too hard. I told her we built another ship, he whispers at one point, eyes glistening. One that doesn't sink, ever. Dominic swallows. That's good, he says. She'll need a ship. Nurses eventually coax Nico to nap on the couch, though he resists until Dominic promises to wake him the moment she stirs. Evening spills slowly into night. Finally, blessedly, Alexa exhales differently. Her fingers twitch. Dominic is standing before he knows he moved. Her lashes flutter. The world finds her again. She blinks, unfocused, then turns toward the familiarity that pulls her from the dark. Dom? Thins. The name is a rasp, but it holds clarity. He exhales a sound broken and relieved all at once, and takes her hand carefully, as though afraid he might hurt her by loving her too much. I'm here, he says. I'm not going anywhere. She scans his face, the exhaustion carved into it, the fear still clinging, and understands everything he doesn't say. Nico? She whispers. Safe, alive, breathing. He nods. With security. He hasn't left the unit. He drew you an entire armada of unsinkable ships. A small smile ghosts across her lips. Good, she murmurs. We'll need them. Silence stretches comfortable now, threaded with oxygen and second chances. Dominic reaches into his jacket pocket. Not dramatic, not ceremonial. Quiet. He places a small key in her palm, closing her fingers around it gently. She frowns at it, tired, curious. What is this? My safe, he says. He forces himself to continue, not with bravado but with truth. Everything is in there. The old ledgers, the real accounts, the names, the deals, the mistakes I haven't let myself admit. My father's sins, mine. If you open it, you'll see the man I have been and whether I deserve to become someone better. Her fingers curl around the key. He swallows. I'm done with secrets. If I'm building a future, it doesn't get built in shadows anymore. You get the whole truth. And if you don't like what you see, you tell me, and we burn what needs burning. It isn't a gesture meant to bind her. It is one meant to free them. Her eyes shine not from weakness, but from the overwhelming tenderness of someone who has carried too much doubt for too long. Transparency, she whispers. Real transparency. He nods. It's the only apology worth anything. She closes her eyes, briefly absorbing it, then opens them again. Dom? Yes? You're not allowed to do this alone anymore. He nods, not because it is romantic, but because it is true. Nico shifts in his sleep and whimpers. Alexa reaches out slightly, wincing but determined. Let him come closer, she says softly. Dominic lifts the boy carefully and places him beside her on the narrow hospital bed. Nico curls gently against her arm, eyes fluttering open. Mama? I'm right here, she whispers. And I'm not going anywhere either. He breathes out relieved and drifts back into sleep. Dominic stands at the foot of the bed, watching both of them, something like reverence tightening in his chest. For once, this is power. Being present, being accountable, being chosen and choosing right in return. Outside the window, night holds the city carefully. Inside the room, stitched and exhausted and alive, a family begins the slow, imperfect work of learning how to exist in daylight.
Epilogue, The Language of Light. 6 months redraw a life. Seasons shift along the coast, painting the city in softer colors. The ocean grows calmer, or perhaps Alexa simply stops expecting it to swallow everything without warning. The house breathes differently now. Not guarded, not naive, simply aware. Nico's drawings cover the refrigerator fleets of unsinkable ships sailing beneath sunny skies. He runs through the hallway in mismatched socks, laughing at the dog they fostered and never returned to the shelter. Alexa prepares lunches at the counter while music plays low, the familiar rhythm of ordinary mornings wrapping itself around them like a prayer answered slowly. Dominic steps in from the driveway, jacket slung over one arm, sleeves rolled, smelling faintly of coffee and the rain that never quite reaches the ground. He kisses her temple not like a man staking claim, like a man arriving home. "How's our admiral?" he asks. "Planning another voyage," Alexa says dryly. "The kitchen table is about to become a harbor again." Nico barrels past them. "Mama, Papa, come see." Alexa freezes. "Papa." The word lands differently. Every time. Not fragile. Not heavy. Real. Dominic meets her gaze, searching for permission, and receives a quiet nod that still surprises him. They follow. The dining room table is covered in maps Nico made himself, pencil lines and taped on islands, tiny drawn fortresses and lighthouse marks. In the center, a paper ship sits proud and slightly crooked. "This one never sinks," Nico declares, hands on his hips. Dominic smiles. "Just a fraction. I believe you." Life, it turns out, becomes legitimate in increments. Dominic meets with accountants and lawyers instead of men with guns. He attends council hearings, answers difficult questions, hands over old records freely. His new ventures revolve around shipping logistics, community revitalization, scholarships, ventures. Alexa reads thoroughly, sometimes argues over, always participates in. Trust isn't awarded, it's lived. Some nights, they sit at the kitchen table with calculators and red pens, discussing numbers rather than ghosts, and somehow, that feels like the most radical intimacy of all. The key to his safe sits in a small dish by the bedroom mirror. It is not a symbol anymore. It is a tool. If either of them feels doubt, they use it. No secrets, no shadows without light cast deliberately over them. But the world beyond their home does not forget easily. There are phone calls Dominic refuses to answer, old associates who grumble, rumors about council fractures and private investigations that never make headlines, and somewhere in Washington, Senator Adrian Pike smiles pleasantly into cameras and gives speeches about economic progress. Alexa watches him once on the evening news, her hand pausing mid-stir over the pot. Dominic comes up behind her. He doesn't look away from the screen. "Loose ends," he says quietly. "Are we safe?" There is no bravado in his answer. "Safer," he says, and watched. "The difference is this time, we're watching back." She nods. Uncertainty still exists, but it no longer rules them. That night, after Nico falls asleep, they sit on the porch with mugs of tea, the stars spread wide overhead, the same sky that once felt indifferent. The breeze lifts the edge of Alexa's hair. "I didn't think we would get here," she admits. "Not like this. Not, honestly." Dominic takes her hand, not gripping, simply holding. "Neither did I, not until I realized daylight isn't given, it's chosen." She leans against his shoulder, feeling the solid, steady rhythm of a man who has finally learned to live without constantly reaching for control. "We're still learning," she says. "We always will be," he replies. "And I'm all right with that." From inside, Nico mutters in his sleep and rolls over, as children do when they trust the world to hold them while they dream. Alexa closes her eyes. For the first time, the future does not feel like a cliff edge or a storm waiting to break. It feels like a shoreline stretching ahead, not perfect, not guaranteed, but reachable. Together. She whispers into the dark. "We made it out of the shadows." Dominic squeezes her hand once. "No," he says softly. "We brought the light with us." The ocean exhales. The house settles. The night keeps its quiet promises. And somewhere beyond the horizon, unseen forces take note but do not yet act. Because even wolves recognize when prey has learned to bare its own teeth.
Thank you for listening to today's story, where strong men and strong women meet in a world rich with culture, courage, and connection. These stories remind us that love is limitless, that strength comes in many forms, and that every race, every age, and every gender has a place in powerful storytelling. If this journey moved you, inspired you, or made you think a little differently, Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with someone who believes in love without boundaries. Join us next time as we explore more characters who challenge expectations, break barriers, and discover that the heart has no labels. Until then, stay open, stay inspired, and keep celebrating every shade of humanity. See you in the next story.